You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. First, let me just say, forgive me if my Hebrew sounds like your uncle trying to order sushi in Tokyo. My voice is AI generated, which means sometimes I pronounce Hebrew words like I'm reading IKEA furniture instructions. So if I say Shir HaShirim and it comes out like Shir Hash Browns, just roll with it. Today's topic is the book The Song of Songs. This book is mysterious, poetic, romantic, and occasionally the kind of thing that makes you blush when you realize it's actually in the Bible. Yep, this is the love poetry section of Judaism's most sacred library, and for centuries, people have debated what it's really all about. Is it romance? Allegory? A spiritual metaphor? Maybe all three? Buckle up, because this book is less thou shalt not and more your hair is like a flock of goats coming down Mount Gilead. You heard me right. Goats. Let's dive in. Now, if you're thinking, wait, there's a book in the Bible that's basically romantic poetry, you're not wrong. The Song of Songs, or in Hebrew, Shir HaShirim, is unlike anything else in the Tanakh. Instead of laws, prophecies, or history, it's a series of lyrical dialogues between two lovers. Rabbis in ancient times argued over whether it even belonged in the canon. Imagine a committee meeting where half the rabbis are fanning themselves because of the steamy verses, and the other half are passionately saying, no, this is holy. In fact, Rabbi Akiva famously declared that while all scripture is holy, the Song of Songs is the Holy of Holies. That's a bold endorsement. From then on, it's been read not only as romantic poetry, but also as a deep allegory of the relationship between God and the Jewish people. In other words, it's not just about love, it's about covenantal love, with a side of Middle Eastern spice. Let's talk style. If you imagine the Book of Psalms as Israel's greatest hits album, the Song of Songs is more like a love mixtape. It's full of similes, metaphors, and nature imagery. But it's not the kind of nature imagery you'd see in a Disney movie with twirling birds. Instead, you get lines like, your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing. Translation? Hey girl, your smile is so clean and perfect, it's like freshly bathed sheep. Romantic, right? Okay, maybe not by modern standards, but in the ancient world, this was serious swooning material. Think of it like sending someone a heart-eyed emoji, but instead you're saying, your neck is like the Tower of David. Awkward to us, but powerful poetry then. The repetition and rhythm give it a lyrical quality, almost like a song meant to be performed. It's sensual, but not in a trashy way. It celebrates love, longing, and beauty. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Jewish tradition decided this wasn't just about human romance. Sure, it reads like a conversation between a young man and a young woman, but commentators layered on deeper meaning. According to many, the male lover represents God and the female lover represents Israel. Suddenly, those passionate words about longing, searching, and finally uniting aren't just about two people. They're about the covenant between God and the Jewish people. That's why this book is traditionally read during Passover. Think about it. Passover is the story of God rescuing the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, essentially declaring, you are my people, and I'm sticking with you. Reading the Song of Songs adds a romantic, almost honeymoon-like energy to the celebration, turning redemption into a love story. It's less courtroom contract, more candlelit dinner. Some rabbis, of course, leaned heavily into the allegorical side. They saw every verse as a spiritual metaphor. When the text says, my beloved is mine, and I am his, they read it as Israel saying, we are committed to God, and God is committed to us. When the woman searches desperately for her beloved at night, wandering the city streets, the rabbis said it's Israel longing for God during times of exile. You get the idea. Every romantic image could be reinterpreted as a religious one. But here's the fun twist. Jewish tradition doesn't erase the literal meaning either. The romance is still there. Unlike some faith traditions that get squeamish about love and passion, Judaism has always made room for the physical and emotional sides of human relationships. In fact, the Talmud once noted that a man shouldn't recite verses from the Song of Songs like he's singing a tavern song, but it never banned the romantic interpretation altogether. That brings us to one of the most famous lines. Love is as strong as death, its passion unyielding as the grave. Its flames are flames of fire, a mighty flame. This isn't just poetic, it's profound. The verse suggests that love, in its truest form, has an intensity and permanence that rivals death itself. That's why the Song of Songs isn't just about young love or courtship. It's about the ultimate human experience of longing and connection. Whether you read it as between two people or between humanity and God, it's saying that love has cosmic importance. And that's part of the Jewish worldview. Love isn't a distraction from holiness. It can be a pathway to it. No wonder couples sometimes choose to read passages from the Song of Songs at their weddings. It captures that mix of passion, poetry, and spirituality all in one. It's basically the original Jewish wedding playlist. Let's be real, though. Some of the imagery sounds bizarre to modern ears. Your nose is like the Tower of Lebanon looking toward Damascus. I mean, if you said that on a first date today, you probably wouldn't get a second. But this just shows how cultural context matters. Back then, comparing someone's features to strong towers or fertile fields was high praise. It was about stability, strength, and abundance. Imagine if Shakespeare wrote, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" People got it. Today, if someone compared you to a goat, you might be insulted. Back then, goats were symbols of vitality. So if you read the Song of Songs with ancient eyes, it's romantic. If you read it with modern ones, it's comedy. Either way, it's entertaining. That's why people still study it. It's both deeply moving and occasionally hilarious. It's like the Bible's version of rom-com meets art house drama. On a more cultural note, the Song of Songs has inspired centuries of Jewish music, art, and mysticism. Kabbalists especially loved it, seeing in its imagery hints of cosmic union between the divine and the world. Mystical commentators turned the verses into spiritual codes about the soul's longing for God. Musicians set its poetry to haunting melodies sung on Passover. Artists illuminated manuscripts with lovers' images woven into vines and flowers. And everyday Jews found comfort in its words, whether at a wedding or in prayer. Even secular Jewish poets, like Yehuda Amichai in modern Israel, echoed its language when writing about love and longing. It's one of those rare texts that bridges the gap between the sacred and the everyday, between the synagogue and the living room. In short, this little book has punched far above its weight in Jewish culture, packing just 8 chapters of poetry into a timeless classic. So why does this matter today? Well, we live in a world where people are always searching for connection through dating apps, social media likes, or endless streaming of rom-coms. The Song of Songs reminds us that love and longing aren't new, and they're not superficial. They're central to what it means to be human. Whether you see it as Israel and God, or simply two lovers trying to find each other in a chaotic world, it's a story we all recognize. Love involves searching, missing, hoping, and finally, rejoicing. It's messy, it's beautiful, and it's eternal. That's why this book still resonates thousands of years later. So next time you hear a cheesy pickup line, just remember, it could be worse. Someone could be calling your hair a flock of goats. Suddenly, "you have nice eyes" doesn't sound so bad. And that's our dive into the Song of Songs, a book that's equal parts poetry, theology, romance, and yes, goat metaphors. It's the kind of text that proves Judaism isn't afraid of passion, complexity, or a little bit of mystery. We've seen how rabbis read it as an allegory of God and Israel, how couples borrow its lines for weddings, and how mystics mind it for spiritual secrets. We've laughed at its ancient compliments and marveled at its timeless verses. Whether you approach it as a love song, a divine allegory, or both, it's a book that shows love isn't just an emotion. It's sacred ground. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Everything Jewish, 10 minutes at a time. If you enjoyed it, please forward this episode to a friend who might like it too, or leave a positive review so others can find the podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep laughing, and maybe compliment someone today. Just skip the goat imagery.